So anyway, empty nesting.
Oh,
Let's go there, even though I don't want to be here.
she's not a fan. I'm a
Mhm.
fan.
Yeah, so we just want to talk about how empty nesting is different for everybody. There's like parents that are like, can't wait till their kids like leave house and grow wings and fly and blah. And I think there's also parents that just love, it's not that we love our kids more. I think for me, I just love having them need me. It's like a
And for
probably
me, while I was sad, and I think it was different. When my youngest, or I'm sorry, when my oldest graduated, oh my gosh, I was so sad, especially that first month. It was awful, and
and it was
you're like,
COVID, so it was way different
right,
too. Way
yeah,
different.
and you're like, is this how it's going to be now? And but then, like after the first month, like, wait, this is actually kind of cool because you're seeing your kid grow and mature and do things on their own. And you're like,
Yeah,
oh, okay, I did okay raising them because
yeah,
they're doing all these things now on their own. So I started to see the good in being an empty nester. Well, at that
yes,
time I wasn't quite an empty nester, but seeing the good of your kids going to college and
yeah.
watching them grow up. So then when my youngest graduated, it was a little bit easier for me to let go because I knew I was going to have this amazing time watching her become her own person, doing her own thing. And I knew our relationship would change too, just the way it did
Hmm.
between me and my son. So for me, that was super exciting. Um, but it was still sad knowing, wow, it's going to be me in this big old house
Hmm.
by myself. And this was before I met
Yeah,
Chris, and like, there's no way I want to stay in this big old house,
yeah. You'd
just
already talked about
me.
moving
And
and downsizing,
yeah, I wanted to make a change for myself when my kids were
and
going through major life changes too.
for me, I think. I mean, I loved my kids becoming men and watching their good choices. Obviously, we all make bad ones too, and we've all struggled. And watching them struggle when they're 4 hours away is really hard for me. I am very much like I've always taken care of people. I think maybe something that makes it a little harder for me too is I had my first child the day I graduated college. I don't know life without being a mom. And so all of a sudden, like my main job is like gone. And then for me with my youngest, where I think Christy had a more positive outlook when her youngest went. When my youngest went, I was excited he was a little bit closer to home and I did see him more. It wasn't COVID, so that was good. But I had like this trifecta in my life where I had just gotten divorced, sold my house, lost my dog, and then my kid leaves. And I think for me, maybe the empty nesting thing wouldn't have hit so hard if the rest of my world and then
Mm-hmm.
my job changed. So everything kind of just transitioned all at once. It was a little much for me, but I have to say my oldest never really like reached out when he was like struggling or like would be like, "Hey, mom, I need this." Like every once in a while he would call, but I would have to check in. And then there's that like balance between figuring out how much to check in with your kids, how much not to. And then my youngest was really really good about texting me how to get a stand on his shirt. Like he would text me like 10 times a day. So I think that too was like, oh, all right. So at least one of them's like constantly still needs me, right? So that softened the blow a bit, I think. For
Yeah.
me, I don't know.
Well, so for me, I also had Chris being a really good cheerleader and
Hmm.
supporter.
Hmm.
My youngest was graduating and going to Ole Miss, 9 hours away from here. Chris's oldest was graduating, was going to be 2.5 hours away from here. So we were going to be going through that together. But he was encouraging me to really thrive during this time
Hmm.
and to, you know, to focus on myself too, and to find all the positives in it.
Yeah.
So I'm thankful and grateful that he could be there
Yeah.
supporting me and cheering me on, like, you're going to be great. You're going to kill empty nesting. And,
She has.
he's been right. I think we have, and we've made the most of it. And it doesn't mean that we don't miss our kids. We do. we get to have our second act is our kids are,
Mm-hmm.
becoming adults. And it's been nice to see my kids cheering me on while I'm
Mm-hmm.
cheering
Yeah.
them on. And now when we are with the kids, it's more intentional. Like even though my daughter's 9 hours away, I still see her, probably at least 3 times each semester.
That's a lot.
And that time together is really, really special.
Where my
So
kids are closer, they're an hour and 45 and 3 hours and 45, and I don't see them that often. They're doing their own thing. They're wrapped up in their own little world, which I'm trying to respect and support them in doing. But I think it's harder for me because I I can fill my time and my space with going to the gym and doing yoga and hiking and all the things I love. I have great friends. I'm very busy, but it's not the same. And when I try to make plans, they don't necessarily like want to hang out with me. And I don't know we've talked about this. Like, is it different because, I'm single, so it's not as fun for my kids to have family time with just mom? Would it be different if I was still married and it was mom and dad? And like, cause like you guys do a lot all of you, like you and Chris and the kids. So it's like a big whole family thing. Whereas it may be a little bit more weird when it's just me and one of my sons. Or I
yeah,
don't know what it
I
is.
don't know
It's
because
strange.
before Chris and I were together, and my son was in college, like it was still just the
Right.
three of us at
Yeah.
the time, and we would make the most of it. But I don't know.
It's just
I just yeah.
it's hard figuring out where to meet
Mhm.
your kids. Like I know what I need as a parent for my children, like how often I need to see them, talk to them. I literally still cry every time I leave them or they leave me. It's horrible. It's embarrassing. I need to get my shit together. But I also think too, it's like the difference of the kids. Like your kids are different kids than mine.
Right.
Not bad, not better, not worse, but it makes our empty nesting situations completely different. And it's there's a lot of people like in a new chapter of life that are even still married for 30 years that are now like redefining their marriages and doing all these things and buying second properties. And it's really cool to see. And I love that for them. And I wish I was okay with my kids being gone. I guess I just really miss them being around and like needing me for something other than money.
Yeah. And I just think, everybody should try to find the positives in
Yeah.
empty nesting and do embrace it because it can be a great time for you and your kids. Pick up that hobby that you haven't done in years or go back to school or
Mm-hmm.
travel a lot. Like I said, a lot of people buying second properties and just do all these things that you haven't done or you've had on your bucket list or your goals. This is your time too. And
Mm-hmm.
one bit of advice for parents that are getting ready to be empty nesters: don't be on Life 360 every day. Don't tell your kids they have to be on Life 360 every day because hopefully you've raised responsible adults that make good choices and you don't need to be checking up on them every single day.
Yeah, I never did that.
Trust your kids.
Did you do that? I never did that.
No,
Did you?
we have Life 360, but it was more for they're driving and traveling, and you could just
Right.
make sure they
Yes.
were safe, or you could see how far away they were until they get home if you were
Hmm.
needing to meet them. But no, I was never like, "Hey, it's 2 a.m. Why are you still out?"
Yeah. No, me
So
either. My kids are mostly like, "Hey, I lost my phone. Can you see where it
yeah,
is?"
so don't make them be on Life 360 if they want to be on it. Because my kids used to question me, why aren't you on Life 360 anymore, Mom? So
Yeah.
the roles
They're
were
they're
reversed, but
watching you as well.
yeah,
That's funny. Yeah, my kids definitely have been like, "Hey, why are you in this state right now?" I'm like, "I'm working."
yeah,
They do watch us too. That's
yeah.
funny. That's
So
funny.
anyway, let us know, about your empty nester experiences, or if you're about to be an empty nester and you have questions, you're scared, you're excited, whatever it may be.
Or if you have advice for people struggling still. I mean, my oldest is going to graduate in May. I'm in big trouble when he moves away.
You can do it. And
I
now I
can. I
have
can.
I have one out of college and one
Yeah.
in college,
Uh-huh.
and
Yeah.
yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah. You guys are figuring it out. We'll figure it out too. We'll get there. We're just all different places, different lives, different relationships. And as long as my kids never stop calling me to talk to me about real life stuff, then I'm okay.
Yeah.
Because I do have to say, like, my kids will just tell me everything. And I love that. So I have to take the the positives with the negatives, and they tell me things that I'm like, whoa, are you supposed to tell your parents that? But I guess they're at the age where they feel comfortable telling me things they've done, and they know that I'm not going to judge them or discipline them, and they're way bigger. It's not like I can spank them.
Yeah.
They tower over me.
And that's going to be a whole other
That's
episode
yeah,
as
a whole
well.
other
So,
deal. Yeah. So anyway, we will see you soon.
bye. I can't do